Hey guys, I'm Sangeeta, and for today's video I am so excited to show you this month's Vinyl Me Please Essentials Record of the Month. So in about 2016, I used to make videos about Vinyl Me Please. This was in the earlier days of the service, and I still have some of those videos up on my channel if you're interested in seeing what the service used to be like. Now, I actually stopped my subscription for a good three and a half years, and I decided lately that I should jump back in. They were having an amazing sale where you could sign up for 3 months for the price of 2. So I decided to sign up for the subscription and start off my Vinyl Me Please journey once again. So for those of you who don't know, Vinyl Me Please is a really cool vinyl subscription service where they send you one record every month along with an exclusive art print, and they also send you a cocktail recipe. So it's kind of a cool experience. You can drink the cocktail, listen to the record, experience it in a whole new way. A lot of the time the records they send out are actually very rare records. It's the first time they're being pressed onto vinyl, or they're exclusive in some way. So it's definitely an amazing service for people who are big record collectors like myself. Another cool thing about Vinyl Me Please is joining as a member also gives you access to the store where you can shop past releases that have not sold out already or other special releases. So they have such a cool collection of records, and they're stored in their subscription service that most of us would be able to find something that we're really excited about. One big difference between Vinyl Me Please back when I subscribed originally and now is that they actually have 3 different tracks depending on what type of music you are really interested in finding out about. So I subscribed to the Essentials track, which as far as I can tell is the most similar to the OG Vinyl Me Please subscription service back in the day. There's also a rap track, which is really cool, and there's also a classics track, which, I mean, you can guess from the name, has some more classic records, so more options than there ever was before. So I'm not sponsored by them, I just think they're really cool. So besides the amazing sale that was going on when I re-signed up, another big reason that I went for it and decided to jump back into the Vinyl Me Please thing is because of the particular record that was being released for April of 2020, and that record would be the Stooges' debut album. So it's called the Stooges. So besides just the record, as I mentioned, there's an art print and a cocktail recipe, which we'll get to in a minute, but I'll just show you the art print first. This is a photo of the Stooges that actually is the original album cover when this album was initially released, and I guess every copy of it that has come out ever since until now. So this is a classic picture. And one thing that I really do like about Vinyl Me Please's art prints, they're not always just a photo of the band. Sometimes they're a really interesting art print. In the past, I've gotten all of like abstract art, band related. It's so different every single time. But what I love about it is definitely the fact that it comes on high quality cardstock. I don't know if you can really tell, but it's durable, and it's the size of a record. So if you're a big fan of the records that you're getting, or a few in particular, you can frame these and they would make a really cool gallery wall. This is a pending plan for my next apartment. Now, back when I initially subscribed to Vinyl Me Please, there used to be a lot more paper involved, some ads and different paragraphs of things, a lot of words, a lot of pictures printed out on pieces of paper that I didn't ever keep. So I was kind of excited to see that they decided to streamline a lot of the papers that they had into this little sleeve that fits perfectly around the corner of the record. And what's on the sleeve is the same kind of things that there would be before. You have the name, the edition, and on the back it has a little paragraph talking about the importance of the album, why they chose it, etc. And then inside here they have a cocktail recipe, which I was excited to try. So it's a Scotch cocktail. I used to be a very big whiskey drinker. Like, a whiskey sour was the first drink I ever had legally, and it's the only drink I knew how to order for a minute. So I had drank a lot of whiskey sours at this bar called Momo's in Portland, and it just such a visceral, it takes me back to that bar every time I have whiskey, so I've avoided it generally. But this is a Scotch cocktail, so I've decided to try it. Why not? One thing that I do think is cool about their cocktail recipes that has continued through and still exists is it says who it was created by. It's not just some anonymous person creating these random cocktails. This was created by the White Rabbit in San Francisco, California. So this is a cocktail that includes 1.5 ounces of scotch, zero point 0.5 ounces of ginger liquor, 0.5 ounces of lime juice, 0.25 ounces of allspice dram, 0.25 ounces of simple syrup, and because this is a quarantine edition and I can't just stroll to the liquor store, we used agave syrup, which is fine. They say to shake it, but I didn't have a cocktail shaker. Again, this is a quarantine edition. I couldn't go to the store to get whatever I wanted. And it also says to garnish it with a lime wheel dipped in ground nutmeg. So I actually have it right here. I've made it a little bit earlier and I want to drink it before the ice melts into it. So cheers. Oh, okay. That surprised me. Most of their drinks kind of surprised me because I expect to taste the liquor so strongly, but that is so smooth. That's really nice. It's very, the allspice dram is nice too. I've never, like, as far as I know, had it. It's probably been in a drink somewhere, but I've never intentionally had allspice dram, and it's like a very warm feeling. Like, it's not Christmassy, but it's that vibe. Does that make sense? I really like that. All of their drinks that I've ever had are so good, by the way. Like I said, I've had some past videos still up on my channel from older Vinyl Me Please releases, but they are all so good, also perfectly suited to the album, which brings us to the actual point of this whole thing, which is this record. Before I get into why this record is special and why it's a special release, I want to show you the vinyl because it's so pretty. And it's really cool because, well, first let me just show it to you and then I'll tell you why I think it's cool. So, okay, so in the light, it doesn't look as crazy. Let's pull it out completely. So you can kind of tell from looking at it that it is a marbled, like dark red and black. And I'm actually gonna insert a clip I put in my Instagram story a little bit ago when I first got this, showing me holding it up to the light because it's so pretty when you can just kind of see through it and it just enhances the way it looks. Like, it's so, I love colored vinyl, so many of us do, and I just think it fits the record pretty well, and I think it's just a really pretty record. I don't really have anything that looks exactly like this. I'm excited to add this to my collection. Now, what's really special about this particular release of the Stooges' debut album is it's actually the original John Cale mix. Now, to back up, we have to go back in time to the 1960s, specifically 1965 in Ann Arbor, Michigan. This is the year the Stooges formed, fronted by a very charismatic and very loud Jim Osterberg, who you probably know as Iggy Pop. Now, I've seen a lot of clips of Iggy Pop performing, and it just always blows me away, the amount of like energy, charisma, the like way he controls his body, and he's always been like that. Like, I saw a video of him performing at Coachella in 2003 when it was still cool, and like, he's still the same way. It's fascinating to me. But in 1965, this was not really the way people were. The mainstream music scene was incredibly different. And that's not to say when the Stooges album came out, it was received with like widespread acclaim and everyone was clamoring over it. A lot of people were really excited. Yeah, but actually at the time, this album and their whole sound in general was not received really well. One of the things Iggy Pop is known for is being the godfather of punk music. So if you've never heard this album, never heard the Stooges, you can imagine maybe what kind of sound this is. But when they were doing it, there wasn't a template to go off of. This was very, very new. The Stooges are actually part of the proto-punk movement, which was very early on, obviously, in the punk movement. And a lot of what they and their contemporaries did led to punk music and led to all of these other genres that we know today and seem a little bit more well known. Now, this record in particular is really interesting because initially when they were recording, their producer was John Cale of the Velvet Underground. So obviously a really capable producer. One story about the Stooges that I really love is that when they first went in to record this album, they actually didn't have a complete album worth of songs. I think they had 3 or 4 songs. I Wanna Be Your Dog was one of them, and that's definitely one of the most well-known Stooges songs. But their original plan was to have a 3-4 minute song, and then they had minutes and minutes of improv, which obviously would be really cool to listen to for a fan, but if you're sitting there trying to sell an album for a new band, it might be a little bit different. So they actually cut down some of those songs, And when the record label was like, you need more songs to complete this and make this an album, they're like, oh yeah, we have them. And they wrote them that night. Now, as for why this particular album is important and cool to have, is it's the John Cale mix. Now, if you don't know, John Cale is a legendary musician, producer, etc. He actually was known for being a part of the Velvet Underground. So he knows a lot about music. And when he produced this album, it had kind of a noisier sound, a messier sound. It wasn't as refined as the final cut of the album ended up being. And John Cale and the record executives actually had some differences with the sound there. So he left, somebody else produced it, and the original release of the Stooges came out. And it was great. There's nothing wrong with the original mixes. But the John Cale mixes that were originally there and scrapped, they got lost. So they disappeared. The tapes disappeared for like 50 years. And sometime in the mid-2000s, somebody found them. No one knows what happened between the time they were lost and the time they were found, obviously. But it's a mystery what happened. But they found their way back to somebody who gave them to Rhino Records, and they were released. They were pressed onto vinyl. And initially there was a few little issues with the pitch. They were thrown off a little bit, but now we have a pitch correct version of the Stooges debut album with the original John Cale production on there. So it's kind of a cool story about how this record came to exist. And now I have it in my collection on blood red and black vinyl. This is stronger than I thought. As for the music itself, the reason I like the Stooges so much, the song that brought me into being a fan of them, is definitely I Wanna Be Your Dog. That's a really well-known song. A lot of people have covered it. Bowie covered it. A lot of people covered it throughout the years. It was in the Runaways movie, and I just really like it. 1969 is also a great song, and We Will Fall is also a great one. It's a very different sound than you might be expecting if you hear I Wanna Be Your Dog and then you go on to We Will Fall. It's kind of this like chant, this like mystical kind of like eerie chant. It's very cool. I like it. Apparently the chanting that happens in that song was Dave Alexander's idea. And we can't really mention the Stooges without mentioning the other members of the band, Scott Ashton, Ron Ashton, and Dave Alexander. Definitely want to make sure everyone knows this was a four-way collaboration. Alright guys, well thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my little review of Vinyl Me Please. I am so excited for next month. If I was excited for this month, I'm excited for next month, because the record of the month for next month is Stevie Nicks' Belladonna, and I'm so excited. So you'll see me next month talking about that. Let me know down in the comments if you are a Vinyl Me Please subscriber, if you like this record, if you have it, what records have you got recently, etc. Let's talk about music. Let's talk about vinyl. Let's go back to my roots and let's talk about that. So I'll talk to you down in the comments, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.